I could learn probably anything if I really wanted to. But my question right now is, do I want? And how do you work like sustainable? Because these people I'm with right now, they're all, I like them, but it's also very like, we went into a sprint, and that's when I realized I can't. No, I can't do this. This is, I'm not there at the moment,
Yeah.
and that's where things just felt off with. Like, I've been feeling it since day one, but I haven't been able to put my finger on it, and I think you did quite a lot. Feeling like this. I read something you wrote about how it can feel like you manipulate people, right, when you're selling.
Mm.
Yeah. Um, I don't know. It's a lot, I think, but yeah, that's what I can say for now.
Yeah. Because the thing is that with the opportunity, you have
Mm.
in the day, like everybody has the exact same opportunity that exists. And that's like the objective quality and value that no one can change. But then there is the offer and the opportunity, and it's how it's now being sold. So if it's being sold in a way where it's unethical or it's through manipulation, it's through painting a facade, then people can get sales, right? People can get new distributors that will come through. And I think that what's not necessarily showcased so much so is how much failure that's occurring within the whole ecosystem, the whole community of Enagic, and showing that when a lot of the people are coming on board, they're being onboarded, but their expectations and the reality is so different that when they do come through, they're just not duplicating and they're not getting good results.
Mm.
So the best way that I can kind of describe it is it's almost likened to when you've probably had like a relationship before in the past. I'm guessing,
Mm-hmm.
and 9 times out of 10, what ends up happening initially when you're not so good with the whole dating is that you'll be a bit more impulsive with how you take action. So usually somebody who's making a decision through impulse will make that decision in a way where they're not looking at reality as it is, but they're distorting it so that they can turn a blind eye to all of the things that they don't want to really face. So when you have that impulse, then you basically have a conscious awareness of all the positives, but you're unconscious of all the negatives with the other person in the relationship. And then when you actually start like getting to know them more, spending more time with them, you realize that this person's an asshole. This person still gets angry. This person, like has 3, 4 different sides to themselves, and they're not who I thought they were. And so, like, when you start to mature within relationships, then you don't really go in with the animalistic way of going in, which is an unconscious way of going in, but you go more so in with a mature conscious aspect to it by actively seeking the downsides of it. And then when you become conscious of those downsides too, it allows you to become more balanced and into this place of like experiencing what's real as opposed to just the benefits. And there's basically two forms of selling, and how I believe that things are going wrong right now within the whole industry of what I've been taught, and what I've seen and experienced is that the amateur salespeople, what they're relying upon is just showing the picture perfect version of what life is like when you walk through the door of the opportunity. But when someone has like real true conviction in what they're offering, then they're not going to have like any reservation in showcasing upfront, here's the downsides. In fact, it's like, I remember, I'll tell you a story. I used to play a lot of sport. I used to play a lot of tennis, actually. And I played almost at professional level. And then when I got to a certain point, like a load of people started coming to me being like, yo, can we get coaching from you? Can we Can we learn? Can we pay you? And I was like, yeah, why not? Because I was like 15, 16. And I then got sick of it. And I was like, I don't even want to train these people because either they don't care or they're just like not even good enough to make me feel like this is fun for me anymore. So the one guy came up to me, and this guy like was a friend of mine from a random interaction that we had. And one day he texted me and he was like, "Yo, I just watched Wimbledon for the first time, and this tennis thing looks really cool. I'd love to go play in the park sometime. Would you be down for that?" And I was like, "No, I ain't gonna lie. Like, I take this game seriously. So instead of me going and playing with you, go and play with someone else." He said, "No, no, please, 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 like come play with me." I was like, "Okay, fair enough. I'm gonna be down at the park playing with someone who's actually good. And if you want to come down, you're more than welcome to come train on the other side of the court. I'll give you like 5 minutes, and then we'll see how it goes from that." So he's like, "Yeah, fine." So he picks up a brand new racket, like one of the cheapest ones, comes down, plays in the park, and when he's watching me, the person play, he's like, "Wow, this is like professional level." I was like, "Yeah, bro, I was being serious." And when he asked me to play with him too, he said, "Do some serves at me." So I was like, "Okay." I did some serves, and I shit you not, like every single one that I did just went straight through his racket. Didn't even get to touch it. And then he was like, "Bro, you got to train me. Like, you got to help me out." And I was like, "I ain't gonna lie. This is way too difficult for you. It's going to take years of practice, and you ain't gonna like most of the training that's necessary because it's just hard. In fact, I'll tell you what you got to do. You actually got to go and train with somebody else for a period of time, and then if you worked on yourself a little bit to the point where you can even hit the ball across the net or touch a serve, then I'll play with you." And so this guy, like, actually, I didn't think he would listen to anything that I said. But about 6 months later, he came back to me and he was like, "Bro, like, where are you?" I said, "I'm in a different city now." So he said, "Oh, that's fine. I'll come to you at that different city and I'll come show you how I've improved." And that's exactly what he did. He came to the next city after 6 months of saying, "I got some coaching. I've been practicing every day. I want to play like you. I've improved." And so he came and, I started hitting with him and I was like, "Yeah, he's definitely had some coaching and he's improved." And after that, like for the whole summer, we played like every single day. He traveled about an hour or two a day to come and play with me there and back. And by the end of it, like he literally got to a point where when people would walk past, they'd be like, "Yo, that guy looks like a professional as well." And they'd come, they'd sit, they'd watch, and it didn't take a long time. And so the whole thing that I'm sharing here is that if I would have taken the approach of, being at the level that I was and saying, "Yo, please let me train you, let me help you, let me bring you to this game. It's so easy. I learned this like dead quick, and then you'll be able to get all the results." If I took that approach, it would have actually probably been less desirable for the person. Because when you describe that word as well, the authenticity, it's magnetic when you are someone who takes full ownership of the dark aspects of what you do and you present that up front. So this is what I truly believe, is that people don't really have the conviction in their offer and in the opportunity, that they've not actually fully closed themselves. And so I remember like the way that I got brought into it. So I haven't shared my story there, but how I got brought into it all was that there was just this random guy who messaged me on Facebook. I wasn't even on Facebook. I never used Facebook, never used social media. And I just went onto it because I wanted to follow some pages on positivity. And that was it. This was before I did any personal development, no transformation, nothing. So I started following some random page about positivity. And this guy like must have owned the page, one of the ones that I was following. It was just quotes. That was all it was. Like no pictures of him, no videos. How I got into the business was this guy basically sent me a random message who owned that positivity page, and he just said, "Are you looking to start an online business?" Very direct, very straight to the point. And for me personally, because I was in a position where I'd lost my job, I was unemployed, I had no money in the account, I was literally like living at my parents and back at ground zero of my life after working in a good job as an accountant like the year before. I got fired from the job. So I was in this place where it was my rock bottom. He reached out to me and I was like, you probably couldn't have found a better time or even person who would be wanting to do something like this right now because I was in the space of like doing the research, etc. And so he reached out and all he did was like send a web class. I watched the video. It must have been the easiest sale because I was just so interested, asking a bunch of questions and then got the answers, had my discovery call, closing call, whatever you want to call it. And then I joined like straight away. It was for me like just it just made so much sense right from the get go. But even though I joined, I wasn't convicted because when I did get my products, like I didn't even use them for the first couple of months. I was so scared to open them that I just wasted my money. When it came to the advertisements, I had no idea how these Facebook ads work. I didn't understand like how they could become predictable, how you can track and start utilizing the algorithm to your favor, that there's a science to it. I had no idea of any of these things. So even with ads, I remember having a winning ad and I just turned it off because I was scared that it would go bad or it was going to cost me too much money back then. So, it took such a long time for me to even start developing this conviction. And I went to my first event in Barcelona. I'm not sure, have you ever been to some of the Enagic events or no? How about like Become the Change events? Have you ever been to those guys' events?
Never know.
Wow. Okay. I think that's definitely something that you would love to experience because it was when I went to my first event that it literally became real for me because I had so many doubts in my mind before then. And it was all these like weird things such as what if everybody is not even real? What if there's somehow they've just got these Google images and they put them into a Facebook community and no one's making any money, they're just making it on Canva. I was literally thinking all these things because until you actually get money that comes into your bank account from Enagic, like you still have doubts, so it's the lack of conviction that makes you feel as though you can't have this. So what changed the game for me was not just like meeting my uplines in person, but meeting, for example, Balaj in person and him transferring his conviction into me when I was just a 1A and I had no sales. And I basically came up to him saying the same things that you're saying to me right now. How am I supposed to go and sell this thing if I ain't got no money, if I ain't got no sales, if I haven't like got any real results? And the one thing that he said to me in that conversation is that the way that you'll be able to build this trust with your audience is through the actual content that you're putting out. And I was just like, wow. But what if I don't have the results? And he said, well, the way that trust works is that trust doesn't work in just the results of a person. That's not the only reason why somebody will choose to follow you. But trust works in a way where when somebody can see your character first, then they're actually more likely to go and follow you than anything else. I've recently just been watching I don't think it's new, but I just started watching the series The Chosen, and it's a series about the life of Jesus, and it's so cool because you're literally just seeing how people would get up out of their corporate jobs back then, which was like fishing, and they'd go and follow him to the ends of the earth. And he didn't have money, he didn't have like tons of wealth, he didn't have results. He just had a vision. He had a vision of where he was going that was so big that if other people's dreams could fit into that vision, and that's the embodiment of a great leader. Is a great leader is someone who may not necessarily have the promised land right there for themselves, but there's someone who can cast a vision that actually pulls people towards that. Because when you think about it, a lot of people, and this is what I was saying for you before as well, before you started off this business, the possibility of having a 5-figure month, like that didn't even really exist for you, most likely. Or if it did, it's a thing of which you'd have to work really hard for. Whereas now, like that possibility, you can get that from 2 sales with this business, you know? So,
Yeah.
this is something of which it basically helps people to start dreaming again. And when you can cast that vision, is that something that is dishonest and not truthful to tell people this is where we're headed, this is the direction that we're going in? Or would you say that that is more something that is like real, genuine?
I would say it's real and genuine because that's what my upline did.
The vision casting?
Yeah, like that's what I saw my own vision in her. So yeah.
Yeah. So this is the thing is it's like I'd say there's a difference between selling the lifestyle of which you're pretending like you're already there, right? There's a difference between doing that and saying, no, look, I'm not there right now. I'm just getting started out on my journey. I'm an apprentice to some great leaders who have already got some amazing results. I have no clue what I'm doing. And it's like taking full ownership of all the things that you think a person would give you as reasons why they wouldn't want to follow you, and just listing them up front. I don't know. Do you watch movies? Have you ever seen the movie 8 Mile?
8 Mile, yes. Eminem, right?
That's right. Yeah. And there's the ending rap battle that he does in 8 Mile where he wins the rap battle by simply taking all of the insults that the other person would give to him, and he just says it all up front. And he's like, "Yeah, I'm white trash. I'm a load of shit, and like I live in a trailer park. My mum's a hoe." He says all of it up front. You can't say nothing to me right now. And he ends it like that. It gives the person the mic, and he's just like, "What do I say? Yeah, I can't say anything." So if you just like start off like your branding and your content with all of that stuff up front initially, then you do exactly what I said in terms of the authenticity in showing up with more honesty, showing up with more conviction, showing up with more love, with more truth. And again, like that straight away makes you magnetic. But then if you're saying all those things, why would somebody want to follow you? At that point, that's because you don't have the fruits, but you have the vision and you have the actual the the space. Like the way that I describe it is most people don't even have a boat. So what you've been given is you've been given a boat. And at the moment right now, if there's only your personal dream that you've been thinking about up until this point, the truth is that you've been thinking about this business in a selfish way. And when you transition from just thinking about like this personal boat being enough to carry you to wherever it is that you got to go, and you start thinking to yourself, no, I got to build a Titanic. Like I have the space for the Titanic here, which is space not just for my dream, but for everyone else's dreams who is in my target audience. And how can I start painting that picture for my people so that when they do start following my journey and my content, they feel like, yeah, we're following her because her dream, her vision is big enough for us to fit into this picture, even if she doesn't have the results right now. You look at every great leader of all time, and it wasn't necessarily the fact that they had the most wealth. In fact, most of the time, it qualified them when they had like the imposter syndrome and they felt like it can't be me. It's got to be someone else because I don't have the communication skills, or I don't have the status, I don't have the influence right now. It can't be me, but that qualifies you as a leader because you have the humility.